it occurred to me, I had several friends talk to me about this, that people might want to learn how to make their own arrows. I've been making my own arrows since I was a kid. The ones I made when I was a kid kind of sucked, but I got better and better, and pretty soon I started using a little bit more modern materials. All my arrows when I was a kid were primitive, so I carved the nocks and everything into the wood, and I usually cut saplings for the arrows and straighten them over the fire, or on the grill, actually. But I've kind of graduated to a little bit more modern materials, and I have more modern bows, and I use nicer stuff. So I have carbons. Those are four of the carbons that I made, but I still like to do a lot of my own stuff. So basically, these are arrows for my wife. She has a lightweight bow, and she loves the Utah Utes. So those are her Utah Utes arrows. And the reason the fletchings are so big is we're actually going to burn those in just a few minutes. So I thought I would show you my process. So I've got 6 of them that haven't been finished. They've just been painted, the base coat. And I tape them off with just painter's tape. And I use this this for the base coat. I really like this. I get it from Hobby Lobby, and it's an acrylic. I use all acrylic except for the cresting, which is an enamel, and then I coat it with an acrylic to kind of seal it off. So that's how I do it. When I crest them, which for those of you who don't know what cresting is this, pretty stripy stuff here, painted stripes, okay? And you can see mine over here. I have my own crest that I use for all my arrows, and I just made up that one for my wife, so she has one too. I like to put a little stripe of paint in the middle, so you'll see the little white stripes in the middle, and on mine it's just a band in the middle, which I like. And so the way I do that is I don't have a cresting machine, and some of you may not either, but unfortunately it also means I have another tool that's fairly expensive. I think you could build something to crest them for fairly inexpensive, but since I already have this is what I use. My shop has got several projects going, so it's not clean, and I don't apologize for that. So it is what it is. That's a working shop. So this is my lathe. I actually just chuck the arrows in here. I do put painter's tape on them to protect the shaft, and then I run them through this thing, and it's hollow in the middle, and it just comes out the end here. I chuck them in, I tighten it, and then I put the end of the arrow in that little thing right there, and when I turn it on, that kind of stabilizes it. And if I have to, I use my hand to stabilize it. And I run it at about, there you go, you can see that, 500 RPM. And I don't have any paint slinging or any issues. It's a little fast for a cresting machine. I think cresting machines run closer to 200 RPM, so it's about double. But it works. It works just fine. So that's what I do. That's how I crest them. And then over here, I take them back over here. I put them in this little stand that I made. All I did was drill some 5/16 holes in them so it holds arrows. And I put them here to dry. When they're done, after I've crested them, and I use Testors enamel paint. I also get that from Hobby Lobby. It's just in it's the little tiny paint jars that you get in the model section. So, and you can, you honestly, it doesn't really matter what you use to crest. Unless you're using, like, I don't know, if you're doing like crazy weird colors, then yeah, you gotta get creative. But honestly, almost any kind of paint will work for cresting, as long as you put a top coat on it to protect it. So that's where this comes in. I put a top coat over all of my cresting, and that keeps it from smearing and rubbing off, or, when it gets wet. If it's acrylic, it doesn't run when it gets wet. And I know it works. I've had some of my arrows that I've crested this way. These ones, actually. You can see those, the ones with the striped, the white, and the barred feathering. One of those, oh no, it was the blue ones. One of those survived a winter in the snow. I was stump shooting, and it got lost, and I couldn't find it, and the cresting survived. So, yeah, so it works. Even it's sitting in the snow for a while. Had to be refletched, but the cresting survived. So it works really good. And then I fletch them. This is my last fletching on this one. I like to use fletching tape. There's some fletching tape right there. Tape is actually those ones that arrow I told you that survived. That one was also crested with. Sorry, that was crested with. That was tape. I had the fletchings on with tape, and the fletchings were still there. So, sorry, trying to do this with a phone in one hand. Okay, done. I really like this boning fletching jig. Speaking of, this is a straight clamp. I only buy straight clamps. I've had helical before, and you don't need them, especially on light diameter arrows. You can adjust. You can see this little adjustment here. You can adjust that by taking those knobs and moving that left or right. And I've got it marked where I want it for left wing because I use left wing the most. If you have a straight clamp, you can use left and right by simply adjusting the fletching jig. It's super simple. Adjust it to whatever angle you want till your arrows shoot the way you want, and then you're done. Okay, so anyway, that's how you do it. I'm going to stop this and pick it back up because I'm going to go ahead and burn the fletchings on those with my feather burner. I'm going to do a we're going to do a parabolic. It's about a 4-inch parabolic, I think. And you can see the wire on there. I've kind of set the wire. And I've got it all set up. I did a test piece before to make sure it lines up and does what it's supposed to do. I do like feather burners, but I will say the feather burner takes a lot more setup. If I was only going to do one type of fletching all the time for myself or for family members, and you all had the same size fletching and the same shape, then I would just get a feather chopper. It's way easier. You get a left and a right, and you can chop. You can actually chop left wing with a right wing chopper, but the problem is it doesn't cut as clean, and sometimes you have to go in and clean them up, but with scissors, which is not really ideal. So get a left and a right and be done, okay? But if you are going to do different profiles, different sizes. I like to do different sizes. Mine are 5-inch shield. I like my 5-inch shield for my big feathers or for my big arrows on my big heavy bows. I just like more stable fletchings. For the little ones, I like to use less fletching. So I can buy a full length. I can get 2 fletchings out of each full length feather. So to fletch these 6 arrows, it only took me 3 white feathers and 6 of the red. And that's just dirt cheap. I mean, you can get them so cheap online now that it makes a lot of sense to be economical with your feathers if you can. And with a feather burner, I can do that. I make a lot of arrows. I love to make arrows. I make them for my friends. I make them for family. So it made sense to go ahead and get a feather burner. And I got a really good deal on this one. If you look around, you can get a good deal. This one's really old, but it works great. And I got it on eBay for about the same price as one feather chopper. And I can do endless amounts of feather shapes and profiles. So that's kind of cool, and I like it. So I'm going to set this up. I'm going to pause it, set it up, and then I'm going to show you me burning them, which is kind of cool.